I went to stay with the Amish because I thought I needed peace. Reset. A break from screens, noise, the endless scroll. But if you told me a week ago that I'd wake up at 5 a.m., put on a floor-length dress, and knead bread with a woman who's never used a smartphone in her life, I'd have laughed. This was supposed to be a simple digital detox, a chance to slow down. But from the very first hour I realized, this wasn't just an experiment. It was a collision between two worlds. I arrived in a beat-up pickup truck, driven by the brother of the woman I was staying with. She met me on the porch. No smile. No words. Just a nod and a stare that went straight through me. In that one look she saw it all. That I was city. That I was soft. That I didn't belong. And as she led me into her silent, spotless house, I already regretted saying yes to this trip. The first meal I had with the Amish family was quiet. Unnervingly quiet. No phones. No background music. No small talk. Just the clink of silverware and the sound of people chewing. And me, sitting there in my city sneakers trying to figure out what I just stepped into. There were 7 of them. Parents, children, even a grandmother who looked at me like I was from Mars. I smiled. No one smiled back. I said thank you. A few nods. Then silence. And the food? It was amazing, fresh, homemade, comforting. But I couldn't enjoy it. Because every time I picked up my fork I felt like I was being watched. Judged. Like my every move said, I don't belong here. Then the father spoke. Deep voice. Clear eyes. He said, in our home we believe in quiet meals. So we can hear what the soul is saying. I froze. My soul? At that moment it wasn't saying much. Just screaming, what have you done? The next morning I made my first mistake. I pulled out my journal during breakfast. Just a simple notebook. But the moment I started writing, the mother's eyes flicked to the page. Then to me. No words. Just a shift in the room's energy. Cold, heavy, silent. Afterward, the daughter, maybe a year or two younger than me, pulled me aside. Quietly, almost kindly, she said, we don't usually write at meals. It distracts from gratitude. Distracts from gratitude. That hit me. I thought I was journaling to reflect, to be present. But here, presence meant something deeper. Less about documenting. More about absorbing. Feeling. I apologized. She smiled. For the first time. But it shook me. I'd only been there 12 hours and already the rules of my world, productivity, expression, constant documentation, felt foreign. Unnecessary. Even invasive. And that was just the beginning. Day 2 started in silence. No alarms. No rush. Just the soft rustle of dresses, the low murmur of chickens, the creak of floorboards. We walked to the barn. No phones, no playlist. Just steps in sync. I helped feed the animals. Watched the boys load hay like they'd done it since birth. There was a rhythm, a grace to it. And then it happened. I paused. No one said a word, but the sunrise hit the fields just right. Birds chirped like a lullaby. A horse whinnied in the distance. And I felt still. Like I'd never really experienced silence before. Not this kind. Not the kind that fills you instead of empties you. I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to post. I didn't want to document. I just wanted to be. And in that moment, I think I finally understood what peace actually feels like. That night, I sat with the daughter again, Sarah. We shelled peas in silence for a while. Then she asked me what I did in the city. I told her I worked in media, did videos, content, YouTube. She blinked. Is that like the news? I laughed. Kind of. She'd never seen Instagram. Never heard of influencers. Had no idea who Taylor Swift was. And she didn't care. Not in a smug way. Just genuinely uninterested. At first I felt embarrassed. Like everything I built my identity on meant nothing here. But as we talked, I realized she had a stronger sense of self than anyone I knew. She didn't need validation. Didn't chase likes. Her world was slower, yes, but it was also rooted. In community. In family. In rhythm. And for the first time in years, I felt my shoulders drop. Like I didn't have to perform anymore. Midweek, I helped with the laundry. It wasn't glamorous. Buckets. Washboards. Cold water. My arms ached. But there was something almost sacred about it. The repetition. The teamwork. the conversations in between. We laughed. Sarah teased her brother. The mom sang a hymn under her breath. Halfway through, I looked down at my hands, raw, pink, aching, and I cried. Not from pain, but because I suddenly remembered my grandmother. Her hands, her strength, how I'd always thought of her as old-fashioned. But maybe she wasn't behind, maybe she was ahead. Maybe we lost something when we made everything easier. That day I didn't just wash clothes. I washed off something else. My ego, my assumptions, my noise. And I started to feel clean for the first time in years. There's no electricity in most Amish homes, which means no lights after sundown, just candles. That night we sat around the table reading aloud. No distractions, no scrolling, just words, flickering shadows, and human presence. And in that dim, quiet glow, I felt more seen than in any spotlight, stage, or selfie I'd ever taken. They asked me to read next. I stumbled a bit. My voice felt loud in the stillness, but they listened. Every word. No interruptions. When I finished, Sarah looked at me and said, "You read with your heart." No one had ever said that to me. Not in hundreds of online comments. Not once. And suddenly I thought, maybe we don't need more followers. Maybe we just need someone who actually listens. On day 4, I tried to help make breakfast. Big mistake. I overcooked the eggs, burned the toast, nearly knocked over a pitcher of goat milk. I expected judgment, a lecture. Instead, the mom laughed. Gently. "Don't worry, child," she said. "It's not the food that matters. It's the love in your hands." I almost cried again. It is where I come from. Mistakes mean shame, failure, content that gets deleted. But here, they meant learning, grace, shared stories over scorched toast. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid to mess up anymore. One evening, I asked Sarah what she thought of people like me. You know, modern, tech-obsessed, constantly online. She paused, thought carefully. "I think you're lonely," she said. Not in a cruel way, just honest. And I didn't argue, because she was right. I had 1,000 followers and yet, no one to sit in silence with. No one to shell peas or fold clothes beside. No one who saw me without a filter. In 5 days I'd felt more connected with no phone, no likes, than I had in years. Her words stayed with me. Still do. On day 5 I rode in a buggy for the first time. No engine. Just the rhythm of hooves on gravel. It was slow, peaceful, meditative. We passed fields, farms, children waving. Everyone seemed to know each other. Sarah told me they rarely leave a 10-mile radius. First I thought, how limiting. But as we rode I realized, it's not a cage. It's a choice. A way of life built on depth, not distance. Presence, not pace. And for once I didn't miss the speed. The night before I left, I found a handwritten note on my pillow. From the grandmother. It said, "You don't have to live like us. But don't forget what you felt here. Quiet is not emptiness. Stillness is not laziness. And peace is not weakness. It is strength in disguise." I read it 3 times. Then I cried again. Because she saw me, all of me, and somehow knew what I needed most. They gave me a parting gift. A loaf of bread I helped bake. Wrapped in cloth. Still warm. But it wasn't the bread that broke me. It was what was sewn into the cloth. My name. In thread. Stitched by hand. No fanfare. Nutagiwasi. Just love. Quiet, real, unforgettable love. I held it to my chest the whole ride home. The moment I got back, everything felt wrong. The sirens. The ads. The endless buzz of phones and traffic and chatter. My apartment felt sterile. My coffee tasted bitter. My calendar made me anxious. And all I could think was, they live without the internet, and they're not missing anything. We live with everything, and still feel empty. No, I didn't give up my phone, or move to a farm, but I did bring back something. I eat slower, listen deeper, sit in silence without reaching for a screen. I call my grandmother more. I journal less and live more. You don't have to change your life, just your pace, your presence, your priorities. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. This isn't a video about the Amish. It's a video about us. About what we've lost in the name of convenience. And what we might find again. In quiet places, slow moments, and people who truly see us. So if you're watching this, take a breath. Let it be quiet for a second. You might be surprised what your soul starts saying when the noise is gone.